When you're burning fat the right way, it can be difficult to accurately gauge your progress because the scale is wildly inaccurate. In fact, if you are doing things the right way, you could be losing a lot more body fat than you realize without the scale moving much at all. So today I'm sharing the very clear way to tell that you're burning way more fat than you realize, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it using myself as an example. Let's dive into it. My name's Autumn. I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's nutrition human performance, and today's video is sponsored by Element. More on them in a bit. Okay, and if you do have a typical scale, there are really huge problems with it because it only measures your total mass. This means it's going to measure your body fat, your muscle, your water, your bones, all of it. And when you're losing weight, you can lose a lot more than just body fat. But with a typical scale, you're not going to see these differentiated. You're just going to see that you're losing weight, and you might think that you're on the right track because of that. But regardless of what your goal is, when you lose muscle mass, it puts you in a worse position than when you started, because muscle mass largely dictates the health of our metabolism. When we have more muscle mass, our metabolism is healthier, we're less carb sensitive, and we tend to burn fat a lot easier. We also tend to have a faster metabolism. But as we lose muscle, this results in a slower metabolism, increased carb sensitivity, and typically a harder time burning fat. This is why when we lose muscle, or if you're following a typical eat less, move more strategy, it results in those periodic weight loss plateaus. Because the metabolism has started to drop, now you have to suddenly start eating less and less in order to keep losing weight. It's just not a very sustainable type of weight loss approach. It also metabolically doesn't leave you in a healthier spot, because in addition to our muscles helping with our metabolic health, it also has been found to be really important for heart health and bone health too. There's even some really interesting research on our brain health and Alzheimer's risk in relation to how much muscle mass we have. But ironically, when you actually keep muscle mass, it helps you to burn more fat as fuel, but you might not see much of a change on the scale at all, which could lead you to think that you're on the wrong path and make some drastic changes like eating less or trying to work out more, which could then result in muscle loss. And then we fall into that same trap, which is why it is so important to actually know how to accurately track your progress to make sure that you're burning fat and not muscle. And my favorite way to track this is highly accessible, fairly inexpensive, and gives you a ton of really cool data. And I'm going to show you how to use it and where to find it. But before we do that, I want to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Element. Element is an amazing electrolyte company that was specifically created with intermittent fasting, low carb eating, whole food eating, and athletes in mind. It actually contains the sodium, the magnesium, and potassium to help replace lost electrolytes, all without having any sugar. And especially when you're on a body recomposition journey, a huge part of that is incorporating strength training, which means that electrolyte needs tend to go up. So I personally take anywhere between 1 to 2 elements per day. Now that it's summer, I've actually found I'm taking 2 elements per day because I'm getting more fatigued in the afternoon from the heat. And Element makes it really easy to do that because they taste so good, especially their grapefruit salt. If you haven't tried that one, it is amazing. But they also have other classic flavors like their raspberry, their orange, their citrus, and they all come in these convenient little packets that you can bring with you anywhere you go, and make sure that you're properly getting your electrolytes with Element. And right now, Element is offering my viewers a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single serve packets free with any Element order. This is a really great way to test out all 8 flavors, so you can get yours at drinkelement.com/autumn. This is only available through my link, so make sure to check out drinklmnt.com/autumn. The link will also be in the description down below. Okay, so the tool that I absolutely love to use, it's how I personally track my progress, is called the INBody. The INBody is a type of scale. It's really easy to use, but it uses something called bioelectric impedance to help give you an idea of body fat and lean mass. I used to think they only had it at like the fancy gyms. Whenever I visit my parents, I would go with my dad to his fancy gym so I could use his INBody machine. I just recently found out that even my very inexpensive Fitness 19 gym has one that we can use as members. So in terms of sourcing one and finding one to use, I would check gyms first. Even if you aren't a member, some gyms will actually let you come in and use it. You just usually have to pay a fee of like $10 or $19. But I even had a client of mine mention that she found hers at a local like vitamin health food store shop. So if you can't find it at a gym or a health club, you could even look around at some of the smaller health food stores too. It is also really easy to use. It's similar to a scale where you step on it, but in addition to that, you have these little handles, as you see, that you hold onto that sends and receives that bioelectric impedance to measure body fat and muscle mass.
Okay, so what are we doing?
Taking my INBody. So first it just measures your weight.
Do not grab the handle or move. Weight measurement is completed.
Okay, so it measures weight first. So it adds height. I'm 31.
Place your heels on the rear.
So this is through a bioelectric impedance.
Grab the handle. Your arms must not touch the sides of your body.
Okay.
The test is complete.
We'll have to compare back at the house. I don't remember what my skeletal muscle mass was, but down 2.6%, another 2.6%, a total of like 8% body fat in the last month and a half or so. Pretty good.
All right, that's amazing.
So
Yeah.
and I actually love that it prints the results out so you can keep these for future reference throughout your journey. And you can scan the little QR code on here as well. And they have an app that'll keep track of your progress over time. I'm going to get into how to actually read your results in just a second, but I just want to note I'm absolutely not being paid by InBody. I just really love their product. I wish I was, and I wish I had one here because it is a very expensive machine. Don't go buying the machine. Use it as a gym because these things are like $6,000, I think. I'm actually not quite sure, but I know they're very expensive. Anyway, back to how to actually read the data. Now, the InBody gives you a lot of data. It can be a little overwhelming, especially if you don't know what you're really looking for, but there are a few things to look at that actually matter. First, you can see the total weight. So this number on its own doesn't really matter, but it's in the context of the next data points where it matters, which the next one being body fat mass. So this is your total amount of body fat in pounds. I like keeping track of this to see exactly how much body fat I've lost compared to my overall weight loss results. You'll see later on that you can also look at percent body fat, but body fat mass actually tells you physically how many pounds of body fat you've gained or lost. And then you'll see skeletal muscle mass, or SMM. This is your total amount of muscle in pounds. With any body recomposition goal, we ideally want to see this number going up, staying the same, or only slightly going down. It is normal to see a slight reduction in muscle mass when you are losing weight, but the goal is to try and minimize this loss as much as possible, or even slightly increase if you can. Okay, so then you'll see there's percent body fat. This is your total amount of body fat in percentage compared to your total weight. So this number can change quite a bit even if the scale doesn't move at all. And that's because you could be experiencing muscle mass going up while total body fat is going down, which that would result in a net zero loss on the scale. Percent body fat helps you to actually see those changes when a normal scale will give you literally zero of that information. Okay, so as I mentioned, there are alternatives to InBody if you can't find an InBody. And technically there's actually an even better, more accurate option, and that's the DEXA scan. It is more accurate and it can actually give you insight onto your bone density as well, which is really important information. The problem is that DEXA is a process. It's also very expensive. Just out of curiosity, I was looking at what it would cost close to me to get it done. And I think the least expensive one I saw was $75 per scan. And then it went as high as like $150 per scan. So obviously it's not something you want to do all the time. It actually would be a good idea maybe once a year, especially to keep track of bone density, to get some type of DEXA scan done. But especially for like every few week update, it's not something that's really realistic to get done. And then another option, if you don't have access to the InBody, that's going to be the cheapest option, is a tape measure. And this does do a good job of tracking body recomposition results because body fat takes up more physical space than muscle. Muscle's a lot more dense. So if you're losing inches like around your waist or your hips, then that's a huge sign you're probably also losing a lot of body fat too. In fact, if you have a tape measure, and even if you have a typical scale, you can actually take certain measurements and then also take your total weight and plug it into some online calculators to get an idea of what your body fat might be, although this is not entirely accurate, but it can at least give you a little bit of an idea of what your body fat percentage might be. I believe NASM, or NASM, which is a personal trainer certification, has an online calculator that you can use. I'll have it linked down in the description below if you guys want to check that one out. Now, there are other really important signs that you're burning fat and not muscle. You can find all those details with this video next. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.